One nuclear weapon. Contest between Russia and the United States inspires hope of ending war in Ukraine. Nigeria calls for inclusive global reforms at G20 meeting in South Africa. Plus, U.S. ambassador to Nigeria refutes allegations of terrorism financing in Nigeria. Trump administration ends more than 90% of U.S. agency for international developments, foreign and funding to African countries. Now, these are some of the stories lined up for this episode of Global Update. It is the program that brings you up to speed with different issues around the globe. My name is Oyeyemi Ajayi, saying welcome to the program. Now let's begin with a brief outlook of trending stories that made headlines within the week. One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon. One nuclear weapon. Now, moving on, Nigerian lawmakers mandated an ad hoc committee to probe alleged terrorism financing of Boko Haram activities by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Heads of security and intelligence agencies were invited for a closed-door meeting as the lawmakers seek briefing on the alleged funding. A motion of urgent national importance was adopted and also called for investigation of the activities of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria to ascertain their real identities and sources of funding.
Over the years, the modus operandi of Boko Haram in Nigeria has been a source of great concern, as their source of funding and operations have been shrouded in mystery.
Numerous attempts to investigate on the funding of these terrorists and bandits did not yield the much desired result.
The effort of our security agencies that stopped them, they will have occupied the entire country. We saw hell.
It is important in a plenary like this. It is almost impossible to do justice to the issues raised on this motion.
When a congressman in America speaks, you have to hold it as something that has some sort of weight.
Since 2009, why is it protracted? There must be some involvement of serious financing, because we know these people, they are ragtag. Where are they getting this money? Where are they getting these weapons?
Each time you will see at least 2 to 3 private jets parked there, owned by NGOs. Most of the offices in Maiduguri are owned by NGOs. And Yobe, what are they doing there?
Now, meanwhile, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Richard Mills Jr., says the U.S. government stands with Nigeria in its quest to completely eliminate remnants of insurgents terrorizing parts of the country. He says this immediately after a closed-door session with members of the Nigerian Governors Forum in Abuja, Nigeria's capital.
Or have policies and procedures in place to ensure that USAID funding, any of our assistance funding, whether it comes from USAID, the Department of Defense, the State Department, is not diverted to a terrorist group like Boko Haram. There's absolutely no evidence that I have seen that that has occurred. And certainly if we ever had evidence presented to us that a program funding was being diverted to Boko Haram, we would immediately investigate, along with our Nigerian partners.
Well, now, in a similar development, the United States President Donald Trump plans to cut more than 90% of USAID foreign and contracts and $60 billion in overall U.S. assistance around the world. Now let's join Garba Natala in this exclusive interview on reasons why President Trump plans to stop these decades of U.S. policy in stabilizing other countries and economies amidst building alliances.
First of all, let us look at the bedrock of Donald Trump's foreign policy. Both in the first term, which was 2016-2020, and in the second term now, starting 2025. It is a catchphrase, America first. Now, progressing from that catchphrase, that foundation, it means in whatever he thinks and whatever he does, in terms of policy formulation and policy implementation, America will come first in his own understanding of international relations amongst and within countries that interface. The good thing is this, foreign aid, which is your question. For me, I believe in that school of thought that foreign aid is not just aid, it's an investment. So, the earlier they take off the feeding bottle, the milk bottle from the mouths of developing countries and let them learn to fend for themselves, because actually there's nothing like a free lunch out there. And that is why all along we've had this catchphrase, trade, not aid, because aid actually kills initiative. Look at it this way. In spite of our abundant natural resources endowment, both human and natural, we keep on struggling in order to develop, in order to even give our people a meaningful living standard. And this is because of all this. Now, when you are given aid, the aid giver tells you what exactly to buy, where exactly to buy them. And then they saddle you with multiple consultants who are paid by them from that aid. In the long run, and when you look at it critically, you will discover that the aid that has been given to you had taken more money out of your system than they have given to you because of the dynamics of aid administration in developing countries. So as far as I'm concerned, given this, it's better, we do better without aid than with aid, because it will teach us to learn how to walk by ourselves and not being carried along. Okay, that is one. Two, you asked, how do we fill in the gap? Yes. Good. We can and we will fill in the gap. I read somewhere recently in social media that for those who are on antiretrovirals, that the cost of the antiretrovirals they need, those who are HIV positive, the cost of antiretroviral has spiked to about $500,000 naira a bunch or something like that. Yes, this is where our government comes in. We have budgets to buy expensive SUVs for legislators at the national level. We don't know at the subnational levels, the states and the local government, but at the national level, sometime 2 years ago, we were informed by newsmen that members of the House of Senate were going home with SUVs costed at 160 million. This is where we have to draw our priorities. So we will have to look for money in order to cater for those who have this. So there will always be opportunity for us to look inwards in order to finance critical areas of our national life.
And now, from here, let's take a break. More still to come. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Moving on, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, called for urgent global reforms to enhance economic equity, peace and security at the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in Johannesburg, South Africa. He congratulated South Africa on its G20 presidency and expressed Nigeria's support for priorities such as disaster resilience and just energy transition, to emphasize the need for a comprehensive approach to combating terrorism, focusing on security and socio-economic development through investments in education and healthcare. He also highlighted tax justice, urging the G20 to back President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's proposal against capital flight and tax evasion by multinational corporations. Additionally, Tuga raised concerns about illicit financial flows, advocating for greater transparency in financial transactions and stricter regulations on tax havens, while reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to ensuring no nation is left behind. Now, as Nigeria is considered one of the key economies on the African continent, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, again, Yusuf Tuga, was earlier interviewed on the sidelines of the G20 Foreign Affairs Ministers meeting in South Africa.
Nigeria is here on invitation of South Africa, that is currently chairing the presiding over the G20. And we are very grateful for being invited. Nigeria is becoming a regular invitee to the G20, and it is our hope that we will also, like South Africa, become a member of the G20. If you notice, other continents have more than one country representing them. If you look at South America, you've got Argentina, you've got Brazil.
Moving on, the Nigerian government has successfully repatriated 180 stranded Nigerian migrants from Niamey, Niger Republic, as part of its ongoing efforts to assist citizens facing hardship abroad. The exercise, coordinated by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons in collaboration with various agencies, marks the fourth batch of voluntary returnees from Niger Republic since 2024, bringing the total number of repatriated citizens to 1,272.
I wanted to go to Spain, but my money normally finish, and police people, they brought me back to the desert close to Niger.
Now, Japan's ambassador designate to Nigeria, Suzuki Hideo, alongside Japanese nationals and its diplomatic counterparts, joined the global community in celebrating the 65th birthday of Japan's emperor. The event, marking the birthday of Japan's head of state, also served as a platform for strengthening bilateral relations between Japan and Nigeria.
I'm optimistic about the future of the Nigerian economy. In December last year, I visited the Dangote refinery, which is attracting the attention of the world, and was very impressed by the grand vision, scale, and cutting-edge technologies of that.
The ministry wishes to assure of our continued commitment under the current renewed hope administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to maintain the existing relation between our countries and explore ways to deepen our bilateral relations to benefit all of us.
As UNDP, Japan is a very strong partner and a core partner to us. They invest in the programs and activities that we develop and implement in places like Nigeria.
The federal government has confirmed the sudden death of Abubakar Lawal, the Nigerian professional footballer in Uganda. A 29-year-old Lawal, a former Nigerian under-20 international, was a key player, striker for Uganda's Vipers Football Club at the time of his death. Chairman of Nigeria's Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiru Eru, were described as suspicious, noting that NIDCOM would demand a thorough investigation into the tragic incident.
Nigerian acting ambassador, High Commissioner in Uganda, in fact, started on the case immediately. So as I speak with you, we're expecting the autopsy report. Nigeria has demanded full investigation. The autopsy is being conducted. The report should be out very, very soon. And we're going to demand thorough investigation because although, without preempting anything, there were two stories to how he died. Two different versions of how he died. And it's just a 20-year-old boy who is also a student in his final year and a very good footballer. So we'll demand justice and thorough investigation. And the good thing is we're getting the cooperation of the Ugandan police, Ugandan security, and Ugandan government as a whole. So there will be no cover-up in this. We'll get to the bottom of it. But our condolence to the family of that young, brilliant footballer that just had this unfortunate incident. The National Sports Commission has also, taken a lot of interest. So there's a lot of pressure to ensure that we get justice and get what really, truly happened.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria has eulogized the late Dr. Sam Nujoma, the founding president of the Republic of Namibia, following his death. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga, in a statement, paid tribute to the African icon who genuinely lived life dedicated to the ideals of freedom, justice and empowerment of his people, and his legacy forever etched in the annals of African history. On behalf of President Tinubu, the government and people of Nigeria, the Foreign Minister expressed condolences to the deceased family, the government and people of Namibia over Nujoma's demise, and prayed Nujoma's achievements to continue to inspire future generations. Now here are other stories within the week.
President Zelensky.
Fresh from a furious exchange in the Oval Office, Volodymyr Zelensky arrives at number 10 Downing Street to a much warmer reception from the British Prime Minister.
You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it. From the very beginning of the war. You're not in a good position.
Still smarting from his bitter ejection from the White House, the Ukrainian leader flew straight to London for the hastily arranged meeting.
We stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take.
The chequebook was opened wide with a new message of support.
We're going to sign the UK-Ukrainian Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Loan Agreement worth £2.26 billion.
European leaders also rallied in support of President Zelensky after his row with Trump and his Vice President J.D. Vance, firmly urging him to get back to the US.
We have to move beyond what happened last night. What I told to President Zelensky is that I said, I think you have to find a way, dear Volodymyr, to restore your relationship with Donald Trump.
Volodymyr Zelensky should return to the negotiating table with the US. He should sit down calmly at the table and negotiate a solution which will make Ukraine safe.
Today, a European security summit in the British capital as leaders come to terms with the new US administration's radically different approach to bringing this war to an end. They'd intended to discuss the minerals deal Ukraine was supposed to sign in Washington, but top of the agenda now will likely be bridging the rift with the US.
We will keep on fighting, we will not surrender, but to end this war we need American involvement, and everybody needs American involvement.
Donald Trump's returned home to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. He says Zelensky can come back to the US when he's ready for peace. The trouble is the two leaders differ widely on how to achieve it.
The American Chamber of Commerce in South China has recently released its annual report on the state of business in the region. About 300 Chinese and international companies were surveyed, and the majority of them said they plan to reinvest in the country despite challenges linked to profitability, fierce local competition, and trade tensions.
What we do find is that even though last year, 2024, was a very difficult year for everybody, and everybody's attitude was negative, that actually during the last year, some 51% of our members actually reinvested in order to expand their existing operations. We know that the companies look at China because of its growing consumer market and the potential of the growth in the Chinese market. In addition to that, those who are involved in other than consumer products are looking at China from a supply chain perspective, which has a very complete supply chain that helps companies develop faster, helps companies grow faster, and of course helps companies produce products at higher quality at the cheapest possible price. So yes, China offers a tremendous amount of capabilities within the consumer market, and we want to continue to be a part of that. Which are produced by True Analog.
And that concludes this week's episode of Global Updates. We hope to see you again same time next week for another package. I am Oyeyemi Ajayi saying bye for now.